Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we're coming into this week with a nice Friday on our backs there. Had a nice day in the player props, all right, in the best bets, and then came through in that parlay that we're bringing you as a bonus as well. Talk about that in a minute, but definitely want to make sure to subscribe to that page and continue to follow along with us all season. We're bringing you best bets in this episode with some sides and totals looks. Also have player props up in another episode, bringing both of those to you each and every weekday this season. Also have that email newsletter up on thelines.com. You can see the link to that in the description of the video here. And Nate and I are dropping our bonus parlay 2-0 for the kids now, up more than 2.5 units there on the parlays that we're dropping in the newsletter every Friday. So make sure you are staying on top of that stuff. Nate, let's go ahead and jump right into your first best bet here for Monday night.
Yeah, picking up where I left off on Friday with a Portland under. Portland at Golden State is 234 at some spots here. It's just way too high. And I think if you just want to take the Blazers team total, that makes sense if you're afraid, scared of Steph, because he can always change the nature of the Warriors offense. They are averaging about 121, right? Since the start of February. I mean, since getting Jimmy in there, but no Pajemski tonight. That does mean the pace will be down a little bit. We've seen in 2025, their pace is down to 96.8 without pods in a 12-game sample. We have a 1-game sample with no pods after the Jimmy trade. That game was played at a 105 pace with Detroit. Still only got to 225 because the Dubs' elite defense, 105 defensive rating. Both teams struggle from three because both teams were very, very good guarding the three-point line, and that's exactly where I look to with Portland. A top three-point defense since the early part of January, really. And the Dubs are also up there at home in their last three, holding opponents to 30% from three, holding opponents to 101 a game the last three home games. So, yeah, when I see a 110.5 total for a Blazers team that's on a back-to-back, hard-fought game at home, and probably still doesn't have Denny Avdia, they're maybe their most versatile offensive player. They're going to just be depending on Simons against the Dubs here to consistently get offense. I just don't see where they really generate that offense. And on the other side, they have some of the most puzzling back-to-back splits, right? You expect teams to score fewer, and they do. They score 5 fewer a game on back-to-backs. They allow 10 points per game fewer. They hold opponents to 31% from three and 23 assists per game. These are just best in the league type defensive numbers. And I guess it's because, you get more wing athletes in there. You get more Kamara, Walker, even Duhop Reith and just guys who are switchable and rangy and can't really hit a shot on the other end. So you definitely get these unders. They're 8-2 to the under on back-to-backs. The last 4 unders, pretty impressive when you think about 3 of these matchups, Philly, Indy, and Chicago. Those games don't usually go under, and they've gone under by an average of 20 points per game the last 4 Blazers back-to-back. So, I mean, you just lean on that. Even in general on the road, they score 6 fewer. They allow 2 fewer. They're 58% to the under. And, the Dubs are happy to play these kind of muck it up, physical games with the Jimmy Draymond era, right? The only real overs with these Dubs have been shooting outliers. With the Nets shot their faces off, the Sixers shot their faces off. I just don't see Portland doing that.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't understand it either, to be honest. I don't know what I'm missing to make it this high of a total for this game. Just been attacking the unders for Portland, and I mean they've had a couple of big games against faster paced teams, and while the Dubs over the course of their last few games have played, and the last 5 games have played at a top 15 pace in the league, they still prefer to play in the bottom half of the league. They've been about 18th in pace all season. They've had a little stretch here against some really bad teams in their last 5. That's also been picking up the pace for them. And they're happy to play that way if you want to go toe-to-toe with Steph Curry. He's doing unimaginable things. And Portland, though, is going to have Toumani Camara on him. And we always got to bring up Toumani when we bring up the other team's best player. Toumani had a good game against Cade. Cade going to Cade, but just another example of him being able to just take out the other team's best player and force them to play, outside of him a bit more. And the Dubs will have to do that. It'll slow things down a bunch. So I'm going to go to another game here out on the West Coast there. The last game of the night is New York at Sacramento. This total got bet down, so I'm going over. I'm going over 219.5. It's interesting because I probably would have gone under 228.5, but then it just got bet down 9 points or whatever it is, 7 points, what have you. So 219.5 is when I sort of stopped the buck there anyway, and and like the over a lot more in this game. And really, I think we've gone too far over into the under because Sac has been playing really slowly, and they've been playing much better defense, especially over their last 5 games specifically. But let's still just use the like normal sample sizes here that we have to go. Even though Keon Ellis is out there, that's a big time more under than over, obviously, instead of Malik Monk. I totally get that. But it's not going to be the same Knicks offense either. And this Knicks offense has relied a ton on mid-range field goals, which is something that Jalen Brunson is doing the bulk of. And Jalen Brunson's not in this game. So with Deuce McBride, you do have a bit better defense. And I see everything that tells you this game should go under before it goes over. But once you get down to 219.5 and I have the players out on the court that I have out there, then I'm still just going to like an over a lot more. The problem with the biggest problem with the over that I would see would be like neither team really getting to the free throw line very much. But I do think that's going to change a bit. If you look at the teams that the Kings have played in their last 5, teams that are not good at getting to the free throw line, they played, like I said, like the 26th in terms of strength of schedule. And as far as teams scoring in the paint and their pace of play, the last 5, they've been playing really, really slowly as a result of playing those slower paced teams with basically better free throw defense. And this Knicks team, not good free throw defense. And neither is this Kings team either. They're dead last in terms of free throw attempts per game. So I can see like the Joval Cat matchup definitely going the way of offense on both sides for these guys. Both guys either fouling each other, guys working off of Joval for the assists, which he's had a ton of in these past bunch of games as he's really running the offense. The Knicks are in the bottom 10 limiting dribble handoff plays, which is what we see from the Kings consistently and has not changed in their offense when you have Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan just running it off of Joval instead of Monk and Fox running it off Sabonis. So it's still a very similar style offense, and that's why we've seen these teams go over in the past. And as far as the 3-point shooting and stuff like that, that's another problem for both teams. Sacramento's actually been the number one above the break 3 offense over the course of their last 5 games. Again, pretty bad defenses that they're playing, but the Knicks are 24th right now in the season as well. And while I do believe in Deuce McBride a bit more, I also see both teams having the ability to get a lot of assists off the catch and shoot, as they've both been in the bottom 5. And the all season they've been bad, but especially in the last 10 games, both bottom 5 limiting catch and shoot, and both these teams pushing the ball into the corners, both defenses bottom 5 limiting corners. Like, it's definitely tailor-made for a lot of drive and kicks and open shots for both these squads.
Yeah, and I think Joval's skill set as a defender is going to be a bit exposed against Cat, right? I mean, he can get physical. Did a nice job on Zubac last night, just like getting physical with him. But Cat is just like he plays 5 out, right? I mean, he's just going to be blowing by
Right.
Joval. Yeah, so I think the Knicks offense will be okay despite Brunson being out. I would agree with you. I was like looking at this as an under potentially, but then I saw 220. It surprised me how low it was. So I think, yeah, you can zag on that. Expect some positive regression from Deuce McBride in his second game now in the featured role, right? Because I mean, he was awful shooting the ball against the Clips. Over 230.5 here in San Antonio. It's on the move. It's up 4 or 5 points. I was able to get this at 226 last night, and I was like, wow, that was an incorrect opening. I mean, I guess the Spurs did lose Fox. The Mavs probably could sit Clay here on a back-to-back, both teams on a back-to-back, but there's just not going to be any rim protection whatsoever in this game. And even though they've been playing like kind of down in pace lately, their games have still averaged absurd totals, like because there is zero rim protection for either of these teams. The last 3, the Spurs, 247. The Mavs are coming off a 241 total, despite all those games being played at a 95 pace on average. I mean, they lose Fox, so definitely look at Steph Castle props here. Should be, his show. Should be a lot of CP3 against an awful mid-range defense as well. So I think the Spurs can continue to score. The Mavs are now inserting guys like Brandon Williams, just like all O, no D, all gas, no breaks. Najee Marshall's coming into his own big time. But it's really about the defenses. Like, you take any NBA or fringe NBA player to score when you get a red carpet to the rim like this. Like, these are actually the worst defenses in the league in the last 5. Even since the All-Star break, Spurs allowing 123, Mavs allowing 119. Certainly giving it up in the areas you need, which is, down low, which is the Mavs allowing 70% in the restricted area, the Spurs allowing the most attempts in the restricted area and a bad 66% on that. Spurs 3-point defense has been abysmal lately. Mavs taking a huge percentage of their shots from 3 because they don't have any bigs at the moment. And they're coming off a game where they allowed 68 paint points to Phoenix. Phoenix, which doesn't get down low at all, allowing 56 paint points during a 5-game skid. So really, I mean, I don't know the injury reports, but I could almost just close my eyes when I see these two teams and be like, there's going to be some points, I would think. So if you lose the value on this, if it's up several points, yeah, I would defer to what Josh is about to speak on, because I do like this, on this, which is now 4 for 4 on totals here on our best bets. I do like the under, as you're going to say, in OKC, if Joker's not 100% or he might not go.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't be too worried about the over for these two teams. I do think they're going to keep going with pace because you're going to keep seeing pace and space. Obviously, D Fox hurts that a bit, but yeah, Stephon Castle is just reckless abandonment to the rim. That's his style of play these days, especially in both these teams. Yeah, just it's what happens when you lose you lose all your centers. I mean, 5 of them for Dallas, and then Wemby for San Antonio, probably worth 5 guys down low. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more points available for both these teams, and while both offenses don't inspire, they also are going up against such poo-poo defenses that's going to prevail, and I wouldn't be worried about that. But this is the bet right here. Over Denver and OKC, they're back in OKC after playing yesterday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I guess that was probably like 12 p.m. local time, and now they're coming back to the same matchup here at OKC, and we're going back to an under 238.5 here for this one. So taking a big under on a big total, and we took the over on a smaller total there with the Knicks and Kings. But for this game, like, first of all, when they're at in OKC in this matchup, these games don't go over, and it's hugely in part because Denver doesn't really go over on the road. And I love that we're getting this in a spot with a back-to-back. Aaron Gordon probably going to be out in this one, which does mean a bit more Russ. But like, if there's a team that can handle a guard like Russ, this is the defense for it. And this defense for OKC at home is a 104 defensive rating on the season. And then you look at Denver when they're on the road, and their offensive rating drops from about 124 to 119. Nothing to sneeze at. It's still a very good offensive rating, but the defensive rating as well, a bit better on the road, giving up fewer points there on the road than they are at home. Actually, about the same amount of points. They just score about 5 more when they're at home, but the defensive rating is a little bit better too. So that's a big part of all this. And then you look at the way that these two teams play against each other. It's not like either of them are giving up too much or that much at all in transition. The Thunder are the second best transition defense, and this Nuggets offense is getting out in the 8th highest frequency into the transition. And then on the other side, OKC is, as fast as they've played at times, they're actually playing pretty slowly and not getting out into the fast break at home, especially 29th in transition frequency when they play in their own building. And this Nuggets defense has been better on the season, about 14th, 15th, limiting transition points overall. So especially with guys like Russ back out there, I do think they're going to be able to get back and handle that. So if you're worried about the pace taking this thing over as well, I mean, I'm not. Like, both these teams, even when they played at 100 or more pace, these games at OKC, like I keep saying, have averaged under 230, and we're getting this 238.5 total. So everything is, as far as the matchup goes, works in our favor here. Both defenses very good at limiting effective field goal percentage. I mean, the Thunder obviously way better, but at least the Nuggets have been 12th over their last 10 and on the season as well. So they had a little down stretch for sure, and in the last 10, picking it back up at 12th in terms of limiting effective field goal percentage, also limiting their turnovers on offense. That was a big part of what I wanted to bring up too. They are back to 13th, and whereas they dipped down to bottom like 20, but like 21st in terms of their turnover percentage on offense for the Nuggets, that's death. You cannot do that at OKC and not expect to give up a ton of points. But the fact that they have been limiting those turnovers against the number 1 turnover defense in OKC should help lead to fewer of those transition points as well. So gonna believe in these two teams coming back at it on a back-to-back, that they're not looking to go 240 and plus again.
Yeah, I mean, should have more of a playoff atmosphere because, yeah, it was such an early start on Sunday with the spring forward, right? I mean, guys expectedly sleepy, but yeah, Jokic already came in with the ankle issue and then seemed to hurt his elbow during the game, right? So even if he goes, is he going to be super effective? Is he going to struggle because of that twin tower defense to a degree? I would worry about that in terms of, and like you said, the Nuggets road splits in terms of their offense. They probably do a little bit better job on Shea here. J-Dub regresses because he doesn't usually shoot that well. Yeah, and if Joker's out, they haven't gotten to 240 in Nuggets game 17 straight games without Joker. They haven't even gotten to 236, in fact. And that includes 2 matchups with OKC that totaled about 200. So there's a possibility where the Nuggets are like, Joker's not healthy. He's got multiple things. Let's just punt. We'll see them in the playoffs maybe. We're not gonna push too hard on a back to back, and then OKC runs away with it. But they also just shut down the Jokerless offense.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think it's just going to be that type of, like you said, like if Denver is serious about winning this game, then they're going to want it to be choppier. They can't get into the run and gun with this team, especially slightly undermanned and dinged up a bit as well. So might be a good game for like Christian Brown and Russ Westbrook trying to carry stuff for Denver, but I don't think it's going to spell too much success for them either, for being honest. So that's all the time we have for you in this one, though. Definitely make sure to subscribe to that page. Check out the Play of Props episode we have up alongside this one. Until we see you next, happy betting.